Welcome back to the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny, the only NFL podcast. One of the hosts would like to remind everyone that all of the NFL teams with cat mascots are combined 3-9. That's Lenny. Can you name all the teams off the top of your head? Nate Tice, my guest.
Every feline mascot. We got Panthers, we have Bengals, we have Jaguars, we have Lions.
That's it. The Lions are really
Yeah.
saving the group, but it's not a good year for cat teams. Thus far, as Lenny would like to. I don't know if he's ever used. I don't think he's ever used that one before. So good on you, Lenny.
Yeah.
Nate, this Nate Tice, the voice you've heard him on the show, I'm sure. He is the host of Football 301. You can also read his writing at Yahoo Sports. He is joining me today to preview Week 4. It's a good group of games. There's some winners.
Yeah. It's a smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord.
It's a little bit of everything. There's some bad games with some interesting matchups. There's some straight up stinkers. There's some sneaky good in the bad, and there's some sneaky bad in the good. I think maybe that's a better way to put it. But no, it's an interesting slate, I think, compared to last week too, which actually turned out to be a fun week of games.
I mean, the morning slate, every game went down to the wire, it felt like last week. So who knows? We are going to use the same format that I've been doing to preview, which is we are going to talk about every game, some of the games at greater length than others. We're going to do keys for both sides to win, with me again doing home teams. Pardon me. Nate, my guest, will do away. There'll be a few games where only one of us provides a key, and we are going to say who we think is going to win. So that's the modus operandi. We are going to start, as I've been doing, with Thursday Night Football, which I guess most people would probably classify as one of the stinkers, although, it's a divisional matchup. It's
a couple cool players.
Feels like, I probably said this last week too, but it really feels like for Dallas, if they don't win this one, it feels like pretty over. It's going to be hard to go worse so back if they fall to the Giants. The Giants too, Nate, have things to be excited about, at least. Particularly. Player, one guy. Malik Neighbors. The Malik Neighbors show is coming to Dallas. I've got the Giants in this one because they are the home team. So I guess the Dallas show is coming to Malik Neighbors. You have the Cowboys.
Yes.
I feel like, yeah.
Thank you. I don't know. Actually, is it? Thank you. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. Well, okay. So a lot of times when we've been doing these, we've kind of ended up, because there's such a pivotal matchup, it's ended up a lot of times with me and my guests kind of just picking two sides of the same coin. I'll be curious to see what you say for this. For the New York Giants, I really feel like it's pretty clear. Can you replicate the formula trademark? Because until the Dallas Cowboys show that they can stop anyone on the ground and everything that comes off of that in terms of misdirection, play action, whatever, but primarily again on the ground, I don't believe them at all, right? Like you gotta show you can do that. And this is the New York Giants team that has not been good running the football this year. They're 5th worst in success rate, 3rd in EPA per play. Offensive line has not been blocking well for Devin Singletary. It's not great, right? No. And even Daniel Jones hasn't been, obviously in the past he's been a good runner as well. But if they're in passing situations, this pass rush, Dallas, Micah Parsons, who's been obviously stifled as of late, should be able to tee off on them. So I guess my question for New York is, can you keep them out of that the way that the last two teams have done with such great success?
Yeah, we did a recap show on Football 301, and I was like, I really wanted to deep dive into the Cowboys, and I watched the games, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm adding anything new here. They can't stop the run, and we all know why. And it's kind of, I don't think I had to reinvent the wheel. But that's it. And that's how they have to right the ship. I've actually come away from watching the Cowboys offense and who I'm supposed to be arguing for here. I've come from watching those games as not as disappointed as I maybe watched on TV, which feels like every time I watch the Cowboys offense and Dak Prescott and everything. But I actually think they match up decently passing game wise against this Giants defense, which actually I don't think is that bad. I think they could stop the run fairly well, but they are missing their 2 cornerbacks that play in the slot. Potentially, and Drew Phillips, who's a rookie I really like, and he's a Dave Brugler special, and Adoree Jackson. You know who likes to line up in the slot? CeeDee Lamb. Yeah.
Nate, do you know what CeeDee Lamb's where he ranks in target share so far this year?
Oh, it's probably up there with Malik Neighbors, but where is it?
No,
Oh,
it's
it's
not that
down?
high. Yeah, it's down
Oh, actually, that
because
does make sense.
it's been skewed a little bit because teams have really endeavored to take him away. So you've seen
A
Dak
lot of
having
Cooks.
to go to Cooks, Tolbert, Ferguson, and I feel like for the Cowboys, like God, figure it out, man. Like do everything possible. Like because as you said, this is a matchup that you should be able to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And
It's a get right game, or it should be, at least for that passing game. But I don't think they can run the ball on them. That's
that's
which
the other thing with the Dallas
yeah.
Cowboys team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, it looks like an offensive line that's starting 2 rookies that
Yeah,
have some good moments, but also have some iffy moments. But they're gonna be going against Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and, a pretty stout front at times, especially when they wanna be big. But that I think that is gonna be really a lot of quick passing to CD, which, like, the
yeah.
Cowboys are like, "Sweet." Like, we love quick games. So this is like Mike McCarthy and Dak are like, "Yes." And
Pew pew
they can put
pew.
CD in a lot of quick passes, a lot of CD Lamb in the slot. That's how I picture it. Maybe some Jake Ferguson as well over the middle. It's just that on the other side is just like, how do you slow down the run? And if they
Yeah,
can just force a turnover, get into third and longs, you already mentioned it, get into the Mike Zimmer world against not Daniel Jones's world, which is anything 3rd and 7 and longer is dragging them into hell for one of them. So that is really going to be the name of the game on that. If they can stay out of that, the Giants could at least slow it down a little bit if the Cowboys can't stay efficient on offense. But I do think the Cowboys have a decent answer on offense for this game.
let me ask you this because Dominique and I did talk about this a bit on Tuesday with regards to the Dallas run defense, and we just really had trouble coming up with solutions with the players who were on their roster. We talked a little bit about the scheme, but the way we discussed it, or I guess my take on it was it's just such a team wide failure right now. Like
Yeah,
every player at every level is not doing their
right.
responsibility, and it's different guys screwing up at different times as well. Do you think there's anything that Mike Zimmer can do schematically to improve their performance against the run?
The natural answer is you load up the box, so you rotate another guy down, but Zimmer doesn't want to do that. He is a quarters too high guy at heart that does some funky stuff out of it, especially on 3rd down. So that's it. You had to add literal more numbers is the best answer. If you don't, what's happening right now so much, especially in that Saints game, is when they have to get into bigger personnels, bigger defenses, and put more linebackers on the field. Those guys are misfitting the run. Like it's terrible. I'm sure you guys talked about it. And how you usually help that out is okay, we have stout defensive tackles and they can keep those guys clean. So if they make a mistake, they have time to get there. I think anyone that's followed a little bit of the Cowboys knows how Maisie Smith's tenure has been.
God,
And Osa Odigizua is a good player, but he's a gap shooter and he's a little
yeah,
undersized.
I know.
So they're missing Jonathan Hankins, which
He's
I
been
kind of
great for
hasn't he?
Seattle
Good player. I know.
for
And it's like
nothing. They signed
on
him for nothing
and he
too.
just keeps getting those deals, little
Brutal.
1-year deals. And I know he's like a really good relief pitcher. He
Yeah.
just keeps getting them, but they're missing it. So I think it is you just have to catch them. You have to become more of a boom bust defense. And
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, which is
Which we
kind
used
of
I
funny.
remember, like, they did that a few times, gosh, I wanna say it was maybe against Buffalo. Do you remember that game last, because this was about a run defense last year as well, but there was a game I remember late in the season where they just kept blitzing the run,
Yeah.
and, I think it was the Buffalo game or whatever, and, they got some TFLs here and there. DeMarcus it was the game where DeMarcus Lawrence too, like, kinda went
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
it's not gonna
it.
be through fundamentals, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I'm going Dallas this
I am
one.
too.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's contained to League Neighbors. That's really
right,
the name
that's
of the
the other
game
thing,
now.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
He's awesome.
he
Giants
is
fans, if you're
awesome.
listening to
He's
this and
sick.
you're, annoyed this isn't so down, I love that guy. I feel like he's even been better than I expected just because of, his physicality, right?
Mhm.
Like, we knew he was fast, but he has really shown himself to be a complete receiver in a way
Yeah.
that's really exciting.
Yeah. He
Okay.
doesn't play small.
No, no. And he does everything. He wins at all 3 levels. He
Yep.
can give you yards after the catch. He can give you contested catches. He can win in the red zone. He's amazing. And Daniel Jones knows it. So,
35% target share.
that's the one. Like, what? Keep ranking that up.
That's it.
Okay. You got the cat fight. It's just you on Bengals,
Oh boy.
Panthers.
Oh man.
So what's the key in this one that you're watching?
Oh, it's can the Bengals defense slow down Andy Dalton and the Andy Dalton
Woo!
revenge game.
That's
That's
right.
yeah, I know. Red Rifle. I think that I mean, really, that's it. This Bengals offense was efficient and was back to being explosive last week. The Commanders' defense is not very good, but I mean, I think anyone that watched Monday night saw what was going on. I know it was the Jane Daniels show and everything. Cliff Kingsbury's coming out hour again, but that defense of the Bengals is not good. It's very
No,
not good.
bad.
It gave up a lot of explosive plays last year. That was their Achilles heel, and it looks like it continued this year. A lot of those plays were bad safety play. And there, of course, there's been a lot made about the pass rush too, but I really just think it's the back end just as bad as the front end.
Yeah.
So really, the key to this is: can you show something? Can Lou cook something? Because the season, I mean, you have to win this.
Every game is must win, yeah.
Every game from here on out. I know they say they're comfortable in these kind of positions, but it's just, can the defense show any life? Because right now they look 32 out of 32 right now. I mean, as far as those total team defense, and considering some of the defenses in the league, that's saying something. So I this offense though been super efficient. I thought Joe Burrow looked pretty good, and they're getting back to pushing the ball. Helps when you have T Higgins back. So that's I do trust the offense again, but again, it's just, yeah, this defense, yeah, just show something,
Yeah.
show anything, any life.
When you have T. Higgins in a defense in Washington who's willing to play cover 3 and cover 1 against them, which, totally blew my mind.
Five
Uh,
for
uh,
5, 5 for 5, 94
uh,
yards and 2
uh,
touchdowns. It's my
mo
favorite stat of the week.
Lord, don't do it. Come on. A
Never do it.
moment for the Red Rifle, because if we had a longer Tuesday pod, I would have made him a winner, because I just wanna say something. This wasn't like I was like, "Ooh, this Panthers game, dead cat bounce." You never want, like, the experienced veteran coming in, like, everyone's gonna play harder. It's exactly what happened. All that is true, but also, Andy Dalton made some of the best throws of the entire weekend.
He did.
There
One
were,
before
like,
the half was sweet.
he was slinging it, and
Yeah,
there is that's I'm just saying, experienced veteran with a good arm, bad defense. Yeah, so I don't, doubt that Cincinnati can move the ball on them in response, but I think, to your point, the question is, can you show anything on
yeah.
defense? Because especially pass rush, man, like
It was rough. All the Commanders had to do was chip help, and that was it. It was just it was like, "Oh, okay, that was
Trey
easy."
Hendrickson was the Cheeto holding the door together, and I mean, that dude is they're lucky he's there. I'll just say
Oh
that.
god,
Good lord.
no.
Okay. This is a bigger one. A big one. Saints Falcons.
Mm.
Um,
Sneaky good
I
rivalry, by the way. An
Sneaky good rivalry.
underrated rivalry in the National Football League, I will say.
Both teams, much like America, are missing the center because Dalman is out, McCoy is out,
That's good.
and that's a
Bravo.
big deal for both of these teams. And that's where actually the direction I'm going in for the Atlanta Falcons, which is I'm going to focus on the defense. Can you get pressure up the interior? Similarly to, Jalen Carter's not walking through that door, but they got David Onyemata and Greg Jarrett. It's a decent duo. And I think what we saw against the Eagles was, it's not a recipe to stop this version of the Saints, but you really saw how much, they lost the Saints offense. If you want to, like, what happened to the Saints offense, that it was the interior of the offensive line was the biggest reason by far why that train came to a screeching halt. It completely disrupted so much of what they've been doing with those in the zone run game, the play action after that. They couldn't run as much play action, obviously. And Derek Carr was pressured a great deal, and as he has throughout most of his career, struggled under pressure in that one. So I think that's, my question for Atlanta is, can you do something similar? Can you take advantage of that weakness now in the Saints offensive line? I'll be interested in seeing, by the way, if Clint Kubiak changes things up a little bit with that in mind, because I felt like in the last game, they just kind of went out and obviously they didn't anticipate McCoy getting hurt, and then they just kind of ran the offense they've been running, and it obviously didn't work. But that is going to be an interesting dynamic for me, is Kubiak versus whether or not Atlanta on defense can do something similar to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think you'll see so many runs. It'll feel like 2019. So many zone runs, I should say. Yeah, losing for the Saints, losing McCoy, who is their best lineman, one of the
So
better
good.
centers, such a good player, and then Cesar Ruiz did not practice. So think that It's Caesar Ray. Yeah, I think this
Yeah.
doesn't change. Well, I think what you said is doesn't change the formula for the Saints, which is going to be a lot of zone runs. It's Kubiak all the way, and preferably with a fullback, and try and make them fit and do the exact things we're saying about that Cowboys defense. But try and do that because that helped out a lot. Play actions off of it. It's so funny. I had the same bullet point. You're not playing against Jalen Carter, so that does help. But this Falcons defense isn't bad overall. I thought they would be significantly worse, and especially they're decent. Yeah, you can run on them. Of course, they played some pretty good run offenses, but they can do some stuff. Do you dare to throw over the middle? That's gonna be the big thing. Is this offense is built off those digs and glances, stuff that attacks over the middle, and then I think what happens if Carr is feeling it. It's all about confidence with him and pushing the ball. Are you going to get Jesse Bates biting? Because he'll bite and try and pick one off. And so do you catch him and get the Rashid Shaheed? That was all well and good in week one when they or week two when they were really feeling it against the Cowboys and the Panthers, whatever game you want to call that in week one. But are they going to keep doing that when maybe, McCoy's not out, right guard might be out? Are we going to trust Trevor Penning on a 7-step drop? So I think that's what, if he is feeling that, we're going to see that deep shot play because that'll open up so much. But I think that's what you need to do because, again, you're already playing with your hand tied behind your back without your best offensive lineman. I will say, I do think the Saints defense matches up well with the Falcons offense.
I do too. Yeah, that's why I went defense for Atlanta because I was looking
the fastball.
Well, I've been so impressed by this Saints defense. Like that's the thing that kind of got lost in the game against Philadelphia. The defense was awesome that game.
I know
they've been really good. Granderson, man, like yeah.
No, they're funky. Like people forget Dennis Allen's a Greg Williams guy, and not LOL. Greg Williams' safety is 50 yards deep, but like blitzing and doing all the crazy stuff. They're one of the better run defenses. I actually found a nice little stat from Sports Info Solutions. Okay, so the Saints overall good run defense, top 10 kind of run defense, but against zone runs this year, only 1 out of 4 has been successful against the Saints defense.
Really?
Yes, sample size is not bad, 37 runs, but only 1 out of 4. It's the best defense against zone runs in the league.
That's really interesting because I'm trying to remember what the Eagles were leaning on with.
They
Saquon.
were doing some pullers. Yeah, and they used a lot of pullers initially, like which makes sense because of the fronts.
Yeah,
but we know both of these offenses are going to be zone.
Yeah.
So the Saints can be burly. They're big. They got some speed on the back end. Like they actually match up well against zone teams, and it makes so that it was kind of cool to see the eye test match the.
That's interesting.
Actually, the stats.
Just to hit that side of the ball really quickly, I think like we kind of both of these offenses, as we've been discussing, have pretty strong identities, I suppose. Do you think there's anything that Atlanta could pivot to, or are there any weaknesses you see on the Saints defense that you would take advantage of if you were them?
I get more Drake London involved in how you do that, as I think you're going to be moving him over the formation or around the formation, more slot, more stuff like that. You have to catch him in a blitz. So I think this is not a methodical game for the Falcons offense. This is a haymaker game. So I think it's a lot of play action, dare yourself to block it up and try and get London going. I guess Darnell Mooney, Kirk Cousins is so funny, by the way. Like it's just that like he will throw exactly who he should throw to, like no matter who it is. Like that's just exactly who he goes against. Like it's just like if the read is telling him to go there, he is going there. So that's why he sees Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney again. It's not Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is still not there. This is just Kirk Cousins doing the reads exactly perfect.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah. I tend to lean Saints in this one just because while the interior of the offensive line the offensive line in general scares me. I don't think that the Falcons, interior pass rush can approximate what we saw from Jalen Carter, but I hesitate saying that because I really do worry about the Saints offensive line. I don't know. It's a little bit tricky.
Going into this, I thought I was going to be going Saints, but I'm actually leaning Falcons. Because I think just what you're mentioning, offensive line stuff, and that's what I was so worried about the Saints team. And it was just like, oh, they actually have an answer. Oh, their best ones went down. So now that until I see
the reverse though, with no Dahlman and because already the interior Saints, the Falcons, pardon me, offensive line hasn't quite been what they were.
I'm going with my heart. I'm going Saints.
No, these are similar teams
it
right
is.
now.
No, no.
Even defensively, they're more similar they've been in years past. And they have similar weaknesses, literally identical weaknesses going into this game. And you have two quarterbacks who both really need to be protected on the inside and aren't going to be. So it kind of comes down to, right, like who's going to, I guess. God.
And that's the thing is I trust Cousins a little bit more in that situation, but it's like
I trust Bijan, but
and that Bijan's probably probably the better player. God, I know that one really like.
Let me see what the line is. I bet it's really close in this one.
It's 1.5 Falcons.
1.5 Falcons. It's in Atlanta, right?
Yeah. So they're actually kind of favoring the Saints there.
All right.
I know.
You take the Falcons, I'll take the Saints, and
against the team
everybody wins. By the way, I forgot I have the Bengals over the Panthers, but
I do too. Yes. Bengals just need it so bad.
Yeah, this is just a desperation thing. All right. Speaking of desperation, I'm the only person I'm alone here on Jags Texans. I
want to hear. I just told everyone to get fired on the Jags on our show, so I want to hear. I want to see.
We did Jags on Tuesday and as one of our losers, and I called it. I was like, this is over because the Bengals. I was like, I could see them whipping off 3 wins. It's not impossible. It's obviously the odds are against them, and I have major questions about that defense. But the offense has looked good enough. At least the offense looked good, right? Like. The Jags have just shown me absolutely nothing, and they're too injured on defense, and the offense is just garbage. So, this is a don't blow it game for Houston team that has really just been a little bit disappointing. And I wrote, Houston, can you improve your efficiency just slightly on early downs? Because it's just been a nightmare for them. And there's a litany of reasons for that. Some of that has to do, they face difficult opponents, right? The Vikings and the Bears are probably two of the better defenses in the NFL. But, just bad runs. The run game looks bad still. Penalties, negating some great CJ Stroud throws in the last
We're so stoked to see this game, guys.
Yeah, right. The offensive line getting dominated. Right now, I forgot who posted this, but I saw that they have the highest third down distance. It's 9.5 yards, which is tied with the Seahawks. That can't be right. Anyways, it's tied to the Seahawks. I believe that it's the highest. I just don't know what it is. Wow. So, we just saw this Bills offense absolutely kill Jacksonville's man coverage on early downs schematically. And I'm looking at you, Bobby Slowick, and I'm saying, come on, because he to me has been the biggest loser of this Texans early season. And that's not even, I'm not calling it on him. It's been 3 games, but I'm just saying you gotta figure this out because you have enough to work with there. Obviously, it should look a lot better than it has. So,
and especially against a Jags team that can get funky on defense, or at least in theory could. We'll see what happens when maybe they go against this offense. Only thing to add, I'm very disappointed in this team being the Jaguars. And also the Texans run game looked so hopeful in week 1. And I was just like, there it is. Yeah. There it is. And then you realize
the Colts just can't stop the run.
Maybe it's a Colts defensive mirage. And, Joe Mixon does help. So whether he's healthy,
he hasn't played,
huge.
Obviously.
Yeah. So that hinders because you're giving touches to Cam Akers, and Bobby Slowick is, and have tried to tell people this, he is sticking to the Shanahan formula. He is going to run the ball. That's he has shown that he doesn't adapt. It doesn't matter if it's 1 yard, 2 yards, 5 yards. It's like he's going to do the same thing.
I hate it.
And I know. And I originally was kind of like, no, this is the formula. You stick to the formula. Now I'm just like, dude, adapt. But bringing up all that stuff, it's good that they're at home. Laremy Tunsil has shown kind of home away splits, even for penalty stuff. He's just kind of always been like that. But I don't know. This wasn't even a game I was breaking down, but I just do think it's an interesting game because I think both teams have to get right in different ways. One is just to save their whole thing, and one is just be like, are we okay? Interesting game.
I'm on Houston in this one. I think the Houston defense is too good for this Jags offense.
Their pass rush is much better. And I don't trust the Jags offensive staff to go after Henry To'oTo'o like everybody else does, but I don't think they could do that.
Okay, Broncos.
Sorry, To'oTo'o.
No.
A little stray at the end.
Uh, Broncos Jets got a little more interesting after the Broncos won against the Bucks. So you're on the Broncos for this
Yeah.
one. I'm on the Jets. So tell me what you think the Broncos need to do.
Broncos defense pretty good. I think
I
we're
like
both
them. I'm
I
glad
like
you're talking about it. Let's do it.
I figured that we're both liking that. Zach Allen looks like the fourth Watt brother.
Wow,
He is
typecasting.
he-
Just
he's
kidding. Keep going.
he's cosplaying. But he actually
Really
has had
good.
a couple of the good weeks against the Steelers. He's taken over the game. Jets have already have an offensive line injury. So that is something I'm
Yeah,
keying on. They have to win up front. I think their front's pretty good. It has been playing pretty well,
really.
which helps the back end, who has Patrick Surtain. So Broncos focus on taking out Garrett Wilson. Not like literally take him out for statistically.
Yeah, you're right.
Uh,
Eliminate him.
yeah. I already mentioned Greg Williams on this pod, but we go with Surtain there. That's your answer. That's how
Yeah.
they go about it. They're going to blitz a lot, try and create some funkiness, especially with this offensive line, who has been playing decent. And then hopefully you have an answer for Mike Williams, who I'm curious
Yeah.
to see how much more run he gets. But you're
Same.
forcing the tight ends, Williams and Lazard, to beat you. That's what you have to do
And if this pass rush plays the way they've had, that ball's going to come out pretty quick.
very quickly.
I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers was moving around a bit like against New England, which was really encouraging, by the way. But
Yes.
he wants to win from the pocket. He wants to win quickly, and he's going to have to, I think, because this Broncos pass rush has been really impressive. And it was funny because week 1 they just dominated Seattle, and I was like, well, the Seattle offensive line is really bad. What is this?
It's
And
always
then
great.
week
Yeah.
2 they're winning. Week 3 they're winning, and it's like, okay, I've seen enough now to
Mm-hmm.
feel pretty good about this front with Cooper, Benito, and Allen. And they're actually 3rd in pass rush win, 3rd in pressure rate without blitzing. Like they're a pretty legit group.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that is extremely meaningful against this Jets offensive line, which has been good, but of course did lose the right tackle, and there's definitely an opportunity there. Okay, I'm on the Jets side. I have kind of the same thought actually, which is you gotta heat up next because of what you
Yeah.
saw in the Bucks game. So you know, I thought Todd Bowles and that Bucks team would give him the business. Absolutely not.
Me too.
Absolutely not. And to Nick's credit, he had his best game thus far as a
Yep.
pro. But a lot of his big plays and his success did come either with his legs or when he was unpressured.
Yep.
The previous 2 games where he really struggled were against Seattle and Pittsburgh, who pressured him at a much higher rate. And it's kind of another one of those things where I think in the same way that I was like, wow, maybe this Denver pass rush is good, like, week 1 is a liar kind of thing. Maybe the Seahawks pass rush is also really good. And Bo Nix kind of ran into a weird buzzsaw the first
Yeah.
2 weeks. I
Yeah.
kind of think that there's a little
I'm
bit
kind
of
of feeling that
truth.
about the Steelers defense a little bit too.
Well, yeah, I mean,
That's kind of a football
Mhm.
301 take. Like we had a joke that Matt Harmon said it. We're like, oh, okay, Matt. And then like 2 weeks later, like, okay, what were you saying about the Steelers defense? Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah,
good, aren't they?
they're really good. And I think the Seahawks defense is good too. We'll
I
get to
think so
them.
too.
But yeah, so this is it for New York, the pass rush has looked really good, right? In the last couple of weeks,
Mhm.
without Hassan Reddick. So, I think that's going to be pretty fundamental in this one.
It is. Yeah. I said, if I had to talk about the offense, I said, Bo Nix, play within yourself. That's it. Hit the easy ones, which I know you want to do anyways, and then make some scrambles like that. But that's how he has to win. So, but they're dead in 3rd and long. They're so dead if they
Yeah.
have to get in 3rd and long.
Stay out of 3rd and long.
That's it. That's it.
All right. I'm taking the Jets.
I am also taking the Jets. I do feel better about this offense the more I've watched. Like the
Same.
more, yeah. Like this is, I think, a top half in the league offense, which
Absolutely.
they're more towards their ceiling than their floor. Wait, I think
Yeah.
that's my better way to put it.
No,
it.
I think, I just was really, Rodgers obviously was amazing in Thursday Night Football.
That arm ain't shot.
Arm isn't, but he was moving, and we'll
Yep.
see if that
Yep.
continues. Okay, so Vikings Packers is really hard because obviously we don't know if Jordan Love is playing, and he was practicing. So
Mhm.
that makes this really tricky. Yeah, so I kind of stayed away from that side because it's just such dramatically different answers depending who's playing quarterback there. Hopefully
you.
we'll get more information soon. And I actually just went to the Packers defense and I wrote, can you get Darnold to make that fatal mistake?
Yep. I said, Sammy D, avoid any of his typical pratfalls.
There you
That's
go. Boom, boom. Yeah. So, um, they do want to talk about the Packers defense because I haven't talked about them really. And new defense coordinator, pardon me, Jeff Hafley, and it's looked good. They have
mhm,
looked. It's been what they had promised, which is to be more aggressive.
yeah,
Obviously, their coverages are different as well. They are playing more single high, and
mhm.
although it's not been extreme, I guess maybe the way. But
It's like
the
50-50, right? It's
yeah,
like,
something like
yeah.
that. And they notably have 7 interceptions this year, which they is about halfway to where they were last year. So, but major caveat, they have played Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, who have been prone to turning over the football. So I think this is a good test for, this group, right? And obviously the Packers have been a great story and I'm really high on them overall. And I think there is an opportunity here to maybe force Darnold into making some mistakes that I feel like regardless of who's playing quarterback is probably going to have to happen for them to win this, whether it's Willis or just because of the nature of the Vikings defense.
Mhm.
Even if the way that I suppose, the way the offense will look totally different depending on which quarterback it is. I do feel like for Green Bay to win this, they're probably going to have to turn over Darnold at least once.
Oh, yeah, and it's yeah, his Sam Darnold's shenanigans have been cheeky and fun so far, and it's just not cruel and tragic, and that's what you're just kinda, like, trying to avoid. It's I'm glad you focused on this side because I actually think it's just very interesting because I just always wanna see how defenses think they can contain Justin Jefferson because that's doesn't matter who's quarterback, who the other guys are, it's always, "Oh, is 18 playing? Alright, cover 2, 2-man, double," and, all the answers. But I have no idea what this guy does. Jeff Hafley, he's been a single high guy in my brain. And so far he goes more to single high. So do we see more cover 2 over there? But I don't know.
Did
He might not. What did you say?
did Alexander man him up both times they play, or did he miss one game
So
if I remember
so Jair
correctly?
Alexander liked to talk crap that he singled him up, but the entire game he had cloud coverage, a safety over the
Okay.
top. I broke it down. It was pretty funny. And talked to Kevin O'Connell actually this summer, and he made a kind of a joke about it, like going like, "Well,
Wow.
hopefully when we play
Okay.
them." Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but against Joe Barry, I knew the answer. I was just like, "All right, I
Right.
know what they're gonna do. Cloud it, cloud it." I don't know what this guy does. I don't know what Halfley does.
I mean,
I'm
I
interested.
wouldn't.
I
I would
wouldn't.
give
No
him
one
help.
does. There's
Yeah.
a reason no one does. Look what happened with the Bengals or the Commanders. Like, oh, we're going to single them up. Okay, 2 touchdowns just went over our head both times that we did it. So same kind of thinking with this. So I'm just curious.
Especially, I mean, so let's see. Addison, I probably should have gotten the
Oh, I got some run game stats, but yeah.
okay, yeah, I wanna hear those, but I
Oh
do
yeah,
think neither Addison or Hawkinson, yeah, are playing in this one, which
they're not
again, so you don't have to man up, like, make them beat
right.
you with and they have, to their credit, I think you got Naylor involved, obviously, he's been good, but,
Yeah.
the other
So
tight ends, but yeah.
the natural answer when coverage, and this is I think what's happened the last couple of years with the Vikings and who they added and what they've done is because they got frustrated when teams were doing that a couple of years ago because they couldn't run the ball at all and they had no secondary real secondary options. So they get Addison, they get Hawkinson. Now this run game is like good, like a
Yeah,
top 5 run
really
game
good,
right now. My
really
favorite,
good.
my favorite stat, Aaron Jones revenge game too. My favorite stat, and I've shared this a couple times, is that from Next Gen Stats, is the Vikings have 18 runs with their running backs that have reached 15 miles an hour or more. So basically, they're out in space. Last year, they had
Ooh,
30 all year. 3 weeks, they have 18. Last year, they had 30 the entire season. So shows kind of how fast this run game is and how good this run game is. But it's the blinking match. You're going to play single high or are you going to double Jefferson? I think they double Jefferson, dare him to run the ball, which I think Kevin O'Connell is fine with doing.
it's funny because I remember, before last season, Kevin O'Connell talked about that, right? He was, and I really liked the way he talked about it because he was, um, essentially explaining like we're not running the ball to run the ball. My idea as a balanced offense is running the ball when when
That's it.
situationally and formationally it makes sense. And it's just like and but they weren't able to accomplish that because the run game was so god awful
So
last
bad.
year. And now, to your point, now that it is better, you are seeing them. lean into it and take advantage. I was trying to pull up really quickly the too high runway because I do think it is pretty high. If I remember, I looked it up
Gotcha.
recently. Yeah, now that it looks good, it is part of. I mean, there's a bunch of things that explain why Sam Darnold is playing the way he is and why this offense looks as good as it is. But I do think that's kind of gotten a little bit not lost in this, but the fact that the run game is as efficient as it is has really, really helped things.
It does. It's they used to be in a bunch of third and longs, and it really lead to a lot of frustrating drives because that's when Kirk Cousins would try some stuff, but a lot of times Kirk would check it down, and so they punt. And I think teams, obviously, fans got frustrated at times with that, where Sam Darnold will take the shots, and I right now when he has made mistakes, they have been punished for it because other guys can do stuff now, meaning the run game. They can just, hey, Sam's losing his cool right now. Okay, we can run it 3 times and they're not wasted snaps, and the defense is getting the ball back. So it's a good guardrails for our guy Sam.
So
It's
it 100%.
good bumpers that he can bowl with.
So we, like I said, the offense is really hard to talk about without knowing who's playing quarterback. That said, I just think this Vikings defense is so good. Even if Jordan Love is out there, the fact that he's been injured and just it'll be interesting to revisit when he's fully healthy and he gets to go up against this Brian Flores defense. But I'm just too skeptical of either. And again, as much as I've loved what I've seen from Willis, I just think this defense is so legit. And yeah, I'm going with Minnesota in this one. Even if Jordan Love plays, I'll probably stick with the Vikings.
Oh, I'm torn. These are been two of my favorite teams to watch so far this year for differing reasons. And Packers were my Super Bowl pick. I actually am going to go with the Packers with Jordan Love
I love
playing.
it.
I think they have some formulas that can help stifle Flores a little bit. I think, but we'll see. But I do think they're one of the better teams to match up against this defense, and I think their defense can maybe make some plays. Xavier McKinney looks fantastic, and maybe he can catch Sam Darnold on something.
What do you think it is that is required to go up against this Brian Flores defense?
A guy, well, zone runs. That's the one thing because you have to
Yeah.
wad it up. You have to wad
Yep.
up all the looks, and then you need a dude at quarterback. And a dude meaning a guy that can drop straight back without play action. Teams can't run play action against this defense because of all the movement, all the stuff that coming at them. There's a lot of leakiness that happens because a lot of play action plays require pullers and guys moving across. So teams get out of it. So you need, of course, to stay ahead of the sticks, but I really do think it's just a quarterback that can drop straight back and work the whole field. You have to be able to run full field progression plays, and there's not a ton of guys that can do that, and a ton of offensive lines that can block it up. So
that's the thing. I thought it would be Stroud, and not
I did too.
But
Stroud actually had some awesome moments. It was just that they got called back a lot.
and when they were just so disadvantaged on early downs that he was just in too many unsustainable
Yeah, they're in long. Yeah.
All right. Commanders, Cardinals, suddenly a game of great intrigue. You're on Washington. I'm on Arizona. You get to go first in this one. What do the Commanders have to do to beat the Cardinals?
Run the ball over and over and over. I do think this Cardinals defense is coming around a little bit. They're not great. The second half of the Lions, though, they're looking a little more cohesive now.
Collins and Gardeck can get after it.
Yes, they can. Dennis Gardeck is one of my favorite folk heroes in the NFL. But yeah, Collins and everything. I know they're coming around, but the Commanders' run game, even without Jane Daniels' legs, just their Brian Robinson, and we'll see with Eckler, but with Robinson and just their straight run game has actually been pretty good and very efficient. And I think they've done it against, I know they did it against the Bengals, but they've done it against other teams where it's like, I feel like it's more real, maybe not to the level that they're at right now, but this is something they can lean on. Yeah. And it's Cliff can call up a run game, and their offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, I think has some influence on it too. So, but I think that's it, because also this is another defense you don't want to get in passing downs because they're funky. And Jane Daniels can be he'll scramble a decent amount against the blitz, which can be good and bad. It can leave some can be volatile, but I think that really is it. So it's run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Jane Daniels, be your efficient self. Really what their game plan against the Bengals is actually a pretty good game plan. Obviously they're only 2 incompletions. That really helps. But that's where it is. Efficient passing, take the shots when they're there, but they have to win on the run game because that's really their strength. And I think the weakness of this Cardinals defense.
Agree. It's funny with Arizona. At first I was thinking come on, can you get the run going? Because weirdly, the rushing attack has not been that
Has it?
great
I
for
know.
them after being amazing last year, and when they've had success, it's been, the Kyler's deep ball essentially.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like they're 24th in EPA running the ball, 17th in success rate. Not god awful or
No,
anything. They look
I thought it
decent
would be
against
top
the Bills,
5.
but yeah, it's. I mean, against Detroit's a very, very good run defense, no doubt, but they could not run the ball, and they were just way too many third and longs, and they were
Mhm.
really inefficient in doing so. But actually, against the Commanders, I really think there's a lot of ways to take advantage of this pass defense.
Yeah.
Um, the thing I wrote for Arizona though is like, can you make the passing attack look easier? Because they've had some really big moments, and obviously you had that crazy Marvin Harrison Jr. game, and Kyler has looked a lot better throwing the ball deep, but he has the lowest percentage of open targets in the NFL right now, and they're near the bottom of the league in yards after the catch. And I just feel like it's a little too boom or bust at the moment. I'd like to see them getting that intermediate game off of play action going a little bit. I'd like to see them using their tight ends more off of some of their run concepts as well. It just feels like right now it's a little bit too hard for them through the air. And I feel like against this defense, there's an opportunity to make things easier for Kyler than it's been.
Yeah, what I've noticed is Kyler is definitely force feeding Marvin Harrison a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kind of standard rules of passing concepts. Like if you have a trips formation where Marvin Harrison Jr. is your traditional X, he is going to be singled up and he's good at it. It's pretty cool. But is the rules for a quarterback are I can read my three and certain looks. I can read out my 3-man side, the 3-man combo, or I can just take my one-on-one matchup. And what Kyler is doing right now is, I mean, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
all 100%, but it's
No,
about
this is what
90%.
you're describing is a big part of why the percentage of open targets is
Exactly.
so low because
I and
he's
so
just gonna like throw it to Marvin no matter what,
I
which I
get
like
why he's
part of
doing
me
it.
likes.
I
Yeah.
do too, and I go back and forth on this. It's like, do you take it always because you're trying to build the chemistry? Okay, yeah, like, you're not trying to win the Super Bowl this year. I get that, but it's also like, can we work out, work out, so
Yeah.
maybe get the 7-yard gain instead of forcing another stop route over there. But that's kind of what I noticed. But I agree that there are some times they can make it easier. The game against the Rams was ideal as far as how you want to do their attack, which was run, 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 play action, play action, play action. So I agree though. The run game I thought would be a little stronger to start. They're trying, they're gonna try. That's the formula for this offense, but I thought it'd be popping a little bit more to start.
Yeah. This
Maybe it's
could
a Trey
be
McBride game though.
that's also, like I feel like you have to treat him as your number 2 maybe
Oh
a bit
yeah.
more, and they're not quite there. I mean, Wilson was great against the
Yeah.
Lions, Michael
I know.
Wilson.
I think they just haven't figured out how to split up the pie yet. Like,
Yeah,
like,
that's a
yeah,
good way to put it, right.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
They weirdly
But
they were also like, they were in a lot of 11 personnel this last
yeah,
week,
I know.
which kinda confused
Probably
me a little
probably
bit.
because they were scared of the Lions base defense. Though you
Right.
mentioned it,
But
the
throw
Lion
on that base defense.
it was I looked at it, going into our show or going into our previous show last week. It was the Lions base defense was averaging like they were allowing like 2 yards on the ground,
Right.
per run, but then you could pass against them
You can pass
out of that.
against them. That's
I
I
know
thought they would
that's
attack the linebackers, and then they kinda didn't. I don't
at
know.
all.
Yeah.
I know.
But
It's
again,
yeah, it was weird.
Commanders, that formula should work. The multiple
Yes.
tight ends, running the
Yep.
ball, throwing out of those looks. So I think this is gonna be a high scoring one. I think it's actually pretty hard because of that to actually pick.
I I'm going Cardinals, but I'm actually very excited to watch this game, like in a sicko kind of way.
Yeah, I just think both of these offenses are better than both of these defenses.
Yeah. And one defense is like allows fireworks, and the other defense is either they create fireworks or allow fireworks. So that's also could lead to some fun.
I'll go Commanders here to keep the good
There.
times going, but I
Yeah.
truly that one's picking for me. Okay, let's wrap this part of the podcast with Patriots Niners. You're on the Patriots. I'm on the Niners.
Yeah.
Um,
I know the formula.
yeah, I
But
decided to just be kind of snarky in this one. Don't give up punt returns and miss field goals.
yeah, that helps. That helps.
Because
Yeah.
that's really why they lost last week. I mean, there's a few
Yeah.
reasons why they
Yeah.
lost to
Don't
the
play
Rams.
Matthew Stafford also helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also right. Because it's funny because there's a lot of panicking right now about the Niners defense, and I get it. They're not as good. They're
Mhm.
you see teams. I mean, Devondre Campbell is like an absolute liability out there. And you lose Javon Hargrave for the year. It's concerning, but you should be able to dominate this one at the line of scrimmage regardless. Like,
Should.
yeah.
Should.
I mean, we know what New England's going to try to do in this one. So I guess my question is, can you, beyond the special team, they're truly awful in special teams, are they? Uh,
They lost
can
their
the
special teams coach. He's defense coordinator now.
mm, can the run defense look like it did week one? You know, I think because we know what New England's going to do, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we can run the ball.
Bully ball. There
Yeah.
it is. And you know literally what play they're gonna run too. That's what's so funny about it. I mean, that's what it is. This game might take 2.5 hours. Uh, but it's a pound the rock, get them. You mentioned it though. It's get those 49ers linebackers on the field. That's the name of the game. Get them on the field, which I think the Patriots will try to do, and chuck it on them a little bit, with the
Hunter
play
Henry?
action stuff. But yeah, just a little.
Hunter Henry?
It's like Fred Warner's phenomenal, playing fantastic. Everyone else around him, not so much. So, but that's what I'm the Patriots side, and that's it. That's the formula. And then on defense is just, their size is a natural. Belichick has always had kind of some natural answers. I know he's not there, but this is still his formula. The personnel matched up against Shanahan guys decently because it was so brawny against more finessey, but it's still, they've lost a little bit of teeth with some injuries and stuff. But I think they just don't have the speed to match up. I think they'll get their points, but I'll just give my prediction right now. I think the 49ers win, but I do think they're 10-point favorites. I think the Patriots cover this one because I think they're going to make it ugly.
Yeah, I think I know I had to really take it out because I thought the Patriots would give the Jets a better game, and that defense really let me down
It
in that one.
embarrassed me.
It's really bad. I was like on first take, like, oh, this Patriots defense is
Oh,
so
top 5.
legit.
Boo,
They
boo,
look
boo. Oh, I
garbage, but
know.
I think that was uncharacteristic. I mean, the Bentley injury hurt, but like I think they are better than what we saw. I am
Mhm.
going to pick the Niners to win this, however. All right, let's take a quick break, come back, and get to the remaining slate of games. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the types of benefits only Caesars can offer: hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. All right, we are back. We've got Steelers, Colts, the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. Do they stay undefeated? Nate, you are on Pittsburgh in this one, so tell
Woo.
me, what do they got to do?
Oh, what are they going to do? Well, we know what they're going to do. They're going to run it 500 million times. My boy, Artie Smith. I said he's Artie Smith until they get a couple more passing touchdowns. Then he gets Arthur back. But I think the Steelers, that's what they're going to do on offense. We know the Colts run defense, which was supposed to be their strength, by the way, has been quite spotty. And I think the Steelers run game is ascending, even
Let's talk
losing.
about it. Yeah, I wanna
Yeah.
ask you about that because that's been one of the bigger letdowns early in the season, and by the way, it's one of the reasons why I'm optimistic about Justin Fields because he's been playing as well as he has despite the fact that they can't run the ball the way I thought they could. I thought they
Me
were
either.
gonna have one of the better rushing attacks in the NFL.
I did too. But it's getting better. They had their best line out there with Troy Fotnew, and then he got hurt in practice. And now they have Broderick Jones, and I almost messed this up the other day. Braxton Jones and Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones, who's been up and down since he's been drafted
Yeah.
last year in the first round, but he's better in the run than the pass, which again, fine for this team. I think just a lot of that is gelling together, is them all working together, getting used to each other. They're running a lot of zone runs. Zone runs require a lot of cohesion and unity with the offense, and can knowing the chemistry and all that. Having said that, too, is that I think Zach Frazier, their center, has been fantastic. Legitimately top 4 center in the NFL right now, and I feel pretty safe saying that, which is really cool. So I think it's going to just take a little bit of time, and I think they're just figuring out, okay, how many touches with, he's been hurt with Warren, but Najee Harris. Now they have Cordero Patterson in the mix. They're running a lot of pony personnel last week with Cordero Patterson in
Right.
there. So I think they're just kind of figuring out how to get all these guys together. And I
Yeah.
think midway through the Broncos game, I think it clicked for them. Okay, this is what we're doing.
Hmm.
Najee Harris hasn't been fantastic. He hasn't broken a lot of tackles. He has a weird habit right now, kind of, slowing down on contact. which, you kind of want to be a little bit more burly. So he's not kind of creating those extra yards. But I think they're figuring out the runs for them, which makes me feel better because also Justin Fields he hasn't been perfect, but playing more confidently and not making kind of some operational mistakes that they've had early. I think now it's getting cleaned up. So they're on a good upward trajectory, I think, right now.
This feels like one too, where he might finally, go off on the ground and bust out like a 45-yard run or something. Like
I think they're holding back until they get into the red zone. Like they want to use more of it, but they're like, Russell's not playing, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, my thoughts for the Colts are pretty similar. Now, they don't have the benefit of going against a bad run defense. In fact, the Steelers' defense has been excellent against the run. But for me, it's kind of for Indianapolis, it's been so up and down in the passing game. Actually, this is a split you don't see very often. Their passing game has been negative 0.17 EPA per play. Their rushing attack has been 0.14, which is amazing. They've been very good running the ball. Jonathan Taylor has been excellent. Anthony Richardson's carrying the ball as well. And I really think for this offense, for them to improve the passing attack, it really starts building off of the run so that they can simplify things for Richardson so that they can keep the Steelers pass rush at bay. I expect them to lean into it pretty heavily. And it's a strength on strength matchup, no doubt. But I don't see a world in which Shane Steichen doesn't lean into it in this one. And I think whether or not they have success really will determine whether they have a chance.
Doesn't lean into it or like ever. He's going to always lean into it. No, I think it's a great Haas fight. Hayward, Benton, Ogunjobi in the interior, all three good players. But going against this Colts run game is legit good. Very, very good. You just mentioned the statistics and everything, but just they have an answer no matter what because they do so many RPOs and because Richardson's legs are such a threat. So if you watch it against the Bears, Richardson's threat would take 3 Bears defenders with him, even just for a step. And then a step in the NFL is you're dead. So you kind of nailed it. It's like going to just be a Haas fight on that side. I'm another game I'm pretty excited about because the offenses are both kind of funky in their own ways and have quarterbacks that can run, which is always fun.
I really, this passing game, it's pretty frustrating to watch at the moment. It was frustrating last week, because it's a combination of misses from just straight up misses from Richardson, but then it just feels like he might have the worst chemistry with his receivers of any quarterback in the NFL right now.
He's got to chill. I think he gets so excited when he's on the right read and he's just he's bouncing, he's trying trick shots. And it's one of these things where it's I know you can do those, but you earn the right to throw the trick shots.
Right.
So the first miss I've realized, the one over Alec Pierce, that he threw 10 yards over Alec Pierce's head, he's trying a no look throw on that one. He's looking off the corner, Kyler Gordon, and he's looking him off and because it's like a curl flat kind of thing. So he's looking at the flat and tries to no look it, and he throws it 10 yards over his head. It's you don't get that yet. Stafford gets to do that. Mahomes gets to do that. Those guys get to do that.
Throw into the void sometimes. All right. You have Rams Bears. We're not doing this one this is just you on this one. I'm not saying this is a bad game. I just I didn't want to pick a few to
I actually had something to pick at on this one too. So it was more juicy than I realized because the Rams showed life last week.
They did.
They showed a lot of life. Run game looked good. And this is kind of my key matchup is a personnel grouping, which is 12, because I think it's interesting, more interesting with the Bears than it would be against other teams.
Completely agree.
As you know, Mina, as a part-time broadcaster for the Rams, is that they run a lot of 11 personnel with 3 receivers. Yeah. They've had a lot of a lot of receiver injuries. So last week they went from 0 snaps to 12 personnel to 24.
Yeah.
They had 58 of it all of last year. So obviously that's a big jump for them. Gets the 49ers work great. Get them to get all those linebackers on the field, make fun of them. However, thank you, is that the Bears linebackers are very good, and they have 3 of them that are all pretty dang good. And also the stats kind of show that as well. So Bears defense, they match with base. They've allowed 2.2 yards per play out of base. 23 plays for 51 yards, a 74% defensive success rate. On first down, they have played 11 plays out of base, and they have allowed 11 yards. They are a very good group, and they're big, they're burly, they can cover well, they're sound. And you're going, so really the matchup, quote unquote, is Stafford, McVay, and the tight ends, Colby Parkinson and others, against the Bears 4-3 against the
Yeah.
Bears 4-3 personnel. So I don't know how cool of a matchup that is, but I actually thought that was very interesting because I think it's going to be McVay kind of has to because they don't have much receivers.
Yeah, they've run out of dudes. Yeah.
They run out of dudes.
I
And
know.
you're running into
Yeah.
the teeth of the Bears defense, pun intended. This Bears defense is awesome.
They're really
and
good.
they can run out sub, out nickel, or they can go base, and they can match up with anybody. And they're
That's
sound.
my thing. Like, even there's not, even outside of the Bears having good linebackers, there aren't like obvious weaknesses on this defense to attack
and nickel,
right now.
Kyle Gordon come in, and okay, he's good too.
Awesome.
So yeah, I know.
Physical player, hits hard.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like for the Rams to eke this one out, it's going to have to be explosive at some point. You're going to have to get, the kind of the deep post to Atwell that we saw over. Yeah.
Fun play, huh? That was.
I mean, yeah.
Atwell ran like 120 yards on that play because he did the motion before it.
What a game he had.
I know. I actually just gave him a shout out with Matt Harmon. A little Tutu Atwell, like, hey, buy him on the waiver wire.
My guy Jordan Whittington getting in there, getting his nose dirty, blocking.
Love him.
He's a good blocker, right?
I had a clip of him. I don't think I posted it though. It was after Kyron Williams does the flip into the end zone. Or it might have been, or it was one of his touchdowns, one of the three. Whittington just gets in there and just had an awesome celebration. He was doing like crotch drops. Like he was just, oh yeah. So I was like, I love this guy.
Yeah. Throwing to Kyron, very different against this defense than it is against, you don't have the same people to pick on.
Tighter.
Yeah, we don't have to hit the Bears offense this one. Last week I was like, get right opportunity. I don't know. I mean, I know Shane Waldron coming back against his old team. Don't love that. But there is an opportunity here for Caleb, so we'll see how it goes. I will talk about him in more length soon. Okay, Eagles Bucks. I'm on the Bucks.
And what's the formula?
Can you do the thing?
Yeah,
right?
Can you do the thing? Yeah,
so
I know.
The thing being, blitzing hurts, and so I say that with trepidation for a few reasons. I do think Jalen Hurts has been better against the blitz this year. He was tested week 1. We really saw that, against Green Bay. He passed it with flying colors. And in fact, so far this season, statistically, he's been better against the blitz. However, he hasn't gone up against like teams that have been really dialing it up or that do dial it up at high rates the way we associate with Tampa. In fact, it's really been a lot of 5-man pressures. It's not,
the Packers were so boring. It was just straight,
right? And it's
straight rushes. Yeah.
Okay. We got Todd Bowles. Now, part of my trepidation is not only from the fact that I do think Hurts has been better and that Moore's given him some answers, but also, this Bucs defense, there's definitely props up front. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So I think there's an opportunity here for Jalen to actually really punish them if they do so. But conversely, there is also an opportunity for Bowles to do what he's done the last 2 times he's faced his quarterback. And I think that's going to probably be what determines how this thing plays out on that side of the ball.
Why do anything else? Because he's done it multiple times now. It's not like just once, not twice, it's like 3 times now. I think that's what the Eagles have to show. Some of the protection stuff that they've done or how Hurts has answered is sometimes they catch them with some nice designer plays, like the play action stuff, like Saquon Barkley's touchdown week 1. They blitzed right into it. Play action's good against the blitz most of the time because of some of, if they don't move guys like the Packers didn't. So you can kind of just wad it up and gash them down the field. I'm glad you brought up some of the Bucs kind of run defense stuff. Well, Veo's out, but he's back. Is the linebackers are a little slower.
Just a little. Britt, who came in last year,
and
for
Levante Dave, the legend.
No, we pretend. I pretend I do not see it.
I know, because he actually had like a good second half last year. But I honestly think the Eagles, and this would behoove them anyways, is to really just no more read plays, no more run read plays, no more RPOs. Just church and state it, run the ball 50 straight times, and when you do have to pass, it's straight dropbacks. Like I think that's the best way to run this offense anyways, but I think the Eagles just have to
Who can
pound
stop the Eagles run game? Not the Bucks.
them. Only them. It's like they are the ones that stop it. It's been frustrating for me watching this offense for years. It's just run it 500 times.
I mean,
straight run, just down their throat. You have no AJ Brown, potentially no Devontae Smith, and potentially no Lane Johnson. Just run it 50 times.
On the other side of the ball, I do think this could be a huge Chris Godwin game. I mean, him against Devontae Maddox is probably the biggest mismatch I see. So, it's really just like, can you protect Baker better than you did last week? Mm-hmm. Because if you activate Godwin, I think that it could be a long day for Philadelphia.
Yep, Gedecke's back. Yeah, no, I think Bucks have plenty of answers, and we're getting more Bucky Irving involved. So I think that
that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I mean, the run game
that's my Rashad White stock, but yeah, no, I know it's just their
pass catcher.
Yeah, he's a former receiver.
Yeah,
I know he gave up that number. And that's what happens. You lose your juice. But I think I think the Bucks have decent answers against the Eagles defense. I think a lot of offenses have decent answers against the Eagles defense, even though the Saints didn't. After
well, good news for Liam Cohen is that tape is out there.
So, it is. I think I am though taking the Bucks here.
Really?
Yeah, just because they're at home.
We skipped Rams. God, I keep skipping them. We skipped the last two. Okay, sorry.
That's
Steelers,
fine.
Colts. I'm on the Steelers. Are you on the Steelers?
I am also on the Steelers.
Okay.
Yes.
Rams, Bears.
I am on the Bears.
They gotta, I'm gonna take the Bears in this
just
one.
Because if this Bears offense can't do anything, all right, boys, all right,
it's
all
over.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, changes need to happen here.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the Eagles. You're taking the Bucks. I'm gonna take the Eagles in this one.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna run the ball on them. Yeah.
No, and I think they do too. I think the Bucks will be able to hang with them offensively, at least enough.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one.
Yeah, another good game.
All right, not a tough one. Chiefs, Chargers. Ugh,
it's not.
This is.
I want to hear your breakdown on this one. I'm gonna lean back on to hear.
I just wrote, can the Chargers defense make Mahomes lose his mind in some weird way? Because that's the only way I see them.
Yeah.
And they're missing James, who's suspended. Bosa's out. I'm sorry. I should have started this by saying it doesn't appear that Justin Herbert is playing this game, which is why we're not going to talk about this game. The only way I think it goes south is if we get a classic. Not classic, but the occasional Mahomes, what the hell are you doing game?
Yeah.
All right. That's all I got.
Yeah. It's a Jesse Minter's got to do something. That's really.
I will say this defensively, and this is, again, doesn't merit that much discussion. The Chiefs' run defense has been a lot better this year than they were last season. That was the weakness last year, and I don't think that's the case this year. So I think they should be able to stop them.
Chris Jones got paid. That helps.
That whole group though, man, like the linebackers,
they're stout,
the way they blitz the run with those DBs, I love that.
It's so annoying because
it's got to be so annoying.
It's not every down too, and that's what
I know. It's so unpredictable.
That's what people think. They're like, "Oh, it's a blitzing defense.
No.
You expect the blitz." It's like, yeah, when they don't do it for 2 drives, and then also they then do it.
Yeah, and they'll do it twice in a row.
Yeah,
right. It's just like super annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Browns, Raiders. You were on this one before we get to a very good game, which is after.
Oh my God! Well, Jerome Ford missed time missed practice, I believe, yesterday. Really is. Can any of these offenses show life? I don't know if that's a key matchup. It's a key question. It's both of the. For once, the Raiders' run game. For the other, it's the Browns' passing game, and it's just. Can you guys? I think it'll be harder for the Raiders going against that Browns defense, but the Raiders' defense is.
Pretty good.
Like a slouch. Yeah. So really it's just, can this Browns passing game show any life? Because right now they have not, even against a reeling Jags team. So that's really it. I wish I had more here, but it's like, I just keep coming back to it because they haven't answered. I know what this Browns defense is with Schwartz. I know what they're going to run. I trust the pass rush. I know that. Okay. Same question every single week. Can we see anything out of this Browns passing game?
This feels like a play for your job moment for both quarterbacks now. Because there were reports after last week that Pierce might be moving on. He said, no, we're going to Minshew in this one. But if Minshew plays poorly in this one, it definitely feels like they're going to switch to AOC.
I'm liking the Pierce press conferences, by the way.
Yeah, I enjoy him. Generally. He's just very honest. Cleveland too. I mean, they're obviously not going to cut Watson, but I do feel like if he puts up another stinker, they do go. I maybe I'm wrong. I'm not like reading the tea leaves the same way
Mhm.
with that team. They haven't said anything, but like I don't know how you can keep rolling with him if he plays poorly in this one.
No, you can't. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, just they're not. I feel like I said this about 4 quarterbacks, but most of the other quarterbacks I talk about when I say this are like rookies or unproven guys, not guys get paid like 50 mil a year. Is once they get to third and long, they're dead, and that's not. You don't want to say that when it's the guy you have a
when
guaranteed contract with.
obvious-
Yeah.
yes, he has
Yeah.
Winston behind him too. I mean, the offensive line situation is really ugly. I think both pass rushes are going to go nuts in this. Neither team can really run the
Yeah.
ball.
I
This
just
is
thought about yeah. It's just yeah. Yeah, it's
this
gonna be an
is
ugly one.
a gross one to pick. I'm honestly like, I would not pick this if I would not bet on it. Let's just put it that way.
No.
I guess
Raiders
I'm
are
gonna
favored by 2,
go.
if you're curious.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I don't know. No, maybe I'm gonna go with the Browns. I'll do a Brown defensive takeover game, and
Okay.
I don't feel good about it.
I'll go Raiders only because 'cause they're at home,
Yeah,
and
sure.
why
All
not?
right, a great game. Bills Ravens.
Oh, man.
Uh, very exciting.
Yes. Very,
Especially,
very
I
exciting.
mean, God, the Bills look
Where to start?
so dominant.
You.
I'm on the Ravens, and I'll go first here. I wrote, can you do what nobody has done, which is attack these linebackers, man? Like, I'm watching the Jags. Okay, well, before we get to a little more Jag slander, I'm
Please
watching the
do.
Jags. I'm watching them come out and Trevor Lawrence throw outside the numbers. I'm losing my mind watching that
Insane.
because the Bills' corners are good. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They've replaced their linebackers. The spine of the defense is their clear vulnerability. Now, to be fair, when he finally did throw over the middle, it was wildly inaccurate and into the hands of Damar Hamlin. But my point is,
The point still stands. Yes.
we haven't really seen anyone attack this defense where they're weaker. I'm not saying they're really good and seemingly just unstoppable when it comes to injuries. So I think this Ravens offense, which of course loves to attack there, loves to attack between the hashes and loves to run the ball, is going to do kind of what we saw last week a little bit against Dallas, which is super heavy, a lot of 22 personnel, bully ball, just try to pound the out of them. And that's what I would do if I was them, because you got to keep that offense off the field as well, because they are a problem. But I do, but Nate, I think they can do it. Like they it should work. Ricard should not leave the field.
He's the most important player of the game is Patrick Ricard. That's I mean, you're not wrong. The Bills defense too, and always matches with sub, always in nickel or dime.
Yep.
That's their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you counter that? Get beef on the field, just bully them. No, that's really it. That was my Bills defensive moment, or my defensive key, I guess I would say, is just how do you slow that down? They've done it in the past. They've plenty of teams have tried this against them, but this is kind of a different animal when you have Derrick Henry and Ricard, and an offensive line that was a lot more cohesive last week.
Yeah.
But why I'm on the Bills on this, for my argument's sake. And it's that offense that is cooking. They are efficient. They can be explosive. You can't run man coverage. So this is kind of the realization I had, especially last week against the Jags, was why don't teams run man coverage against them? Okay, well, are you really that scared of Khalil Shakir, who I do love, but are you really scared of these guys? Oh, well, Josh Allen just scrambles on you every time you run man. So teams go, okay, zone. All right, we'll run zone. And then it's just gash them down on the ground, nickel and dime underneath. Josh Allen has become late career Drew Brees accurate. It's on top of being able to scramble and do everything. All of his numbers are like the best in next gen stats' history, which goes back to 2016 through 3 weeks.
Just the level of accuracy, efficiency, and creativity is such an insane combination right now.
It's very rare. There's been pieces there the last couple of years. The mental side, we've talked about it. Him just with the quarterback draft, I think we talked about it, and we both of us he's number 2 with a bullet right now. He's number 2, but he's playing like number 1 right now. That's just how on top of his game, and it's the mental side catching up with the physical side. And it's been a buildup every year. He gets more control, and now he's the whole offense. And we used to mean that physically, but now he's controlling everything like we consider the old gunslinger sheriffs that handle everything. So you got the guy with one of the strongest arms who's throwing extremely accurate. He's the most dangerous scrambler in the league, and now he's one of the top mental guys. Good
So what do
luck.
you do? But let's try to give the Ravens hope, because this is a defense that has had the ups and downs.
Yep.
Really, I mean, if football was only
Everyone
played in 3 quarters, they would be the best defense still. I don't know. Ugh. So I do
No,
think they're still good. I actually do think they're still good. They're still talented.
yep.
Corners are still work in progress. There's young,
But they have answers. Yeah. Well,
um,
they
yeah,
do
like
the natural thing you have to do is you have to catch if you have a smart quarterback, you have to catch them. You have to catch them that one time where you rotate the coverage and create the pick. Like I know that sounds like like an old platitude. He's going to throw you one, but Allen's going to try some stuff. You got to get him to some longer passing downs. But this defense has that in their bag where they can rotate coverages and show all these funky
yeah.
looks. You just catch them once. That's just how you stay in these games when you're playing against a quarterback kind of on top of his powers like he is right now.
Yeah. Well, and I do think it really does start with that offense grinding them down, and which also, by the way, contribute. Like if your offense keeps Josh Allen on the field, he's a little bit more likely to come on the field a little hopped up and trying to do stuff. I've just seen that.
No, it's real. It's a very real thing.
So it's really
great game.
Can you get the run game, the play action? I do think the run game. I know I said similar to Dallas. I don't think like all that zone read stuff is going to work. Even though the linebackers are like a weakness for Buffalo, they're not like Dallas. Like they are much more disciplined and well coached, and the whole team tackles and plays together, and the DBs tackle. And so, in my mind, it would be probably more of that the sort of traditional Ravens power running game.
I think it's high formation, yeah.
4-man rush, Lamar scrambles, big pop off, big scrambles in this one. They're not going to blitz him, so
yeah. No, I think it's a good call. I also want to give a shout out to Travis Jones, the Ravens defensive lineman. He was awesome last week. Yeah, a lot of hosses.
He moves too. He moves like a cat out there.
Strong and fast. Yeah, I know. So a lot of hosses in this game.
They'll be okay. I really think they'll be okay. I just feel like it's just been like it kind of, it's like early in the McDonald era, like there's just been some weird collapses. There's been moments where they look as dominant, but they're still figuring things out. There's Simpson's young, Wiggins is young. See if Ngakoue plays. They signed their little veteran signing. All right, 2 Monday night games. Not a lot on the first one. It's just me on Titans Dolphins. Do not know who's playing quarterback for the Miami Dolphins in this one. Maybe Tyler Huntley. Can't be worse than Thompson. Sorry?
That was a Pro Bowler?
Oh, yeah. Pro Bowler, Tyler Huntley.
Thank you.
You know what? I was going to say Will Levis, please avoid turnovers, and that's really it for Tennessee, right? But also, like, Mike McDonald, what you got?
Can't just throw the flat. Yeah, can't just say that's it.
Yeah, and look, it's unfair to compare them to Green Bay because the infrastructure in Green Bay, like I think if anything's been, and this is not Mike McDonald apologism, I guess it's going to come across that way, but it's what's really come across. People always say, "Wow, Tua, without Tua, you see how like bad this offense is," and maybe these exposing Mike McDaniel. I think it exposes how poorly built this team is and how much they were dependent on Tua's skill set. And Chris Greer is on fraud watch for me, but so anyways, but for the key to the game is just Will Levis, can you avoid the boneheaded turnovers we've seen thus far this season?
Well, it's when you build
I'm on Buffalo too, by the way. Sorry,
I'm also on Buffalo.
I'm on Buffalo.
The Dolphins and the term is fragile because the Dolphins take a lot of guys that had injury history, signing or drafting, and it's kind of, what do you expect if you're going to be built, as you refer to as the Cheeto holding it all together? That's like, it's the team of Cheetos. And they're fast and they have all that, but also, Tua's injury history. And I remember a lot was made last year. He learned how to fall better. And you kind of know that with him, that he might get banged up. He has had a history of injuries. Right. And you went in with Skylar Thompson into the season as your backup. While you mentioned the Packers, you said, it's not always fair and everything, but team building, you have to assess your roster and you have to talk to coaches and go like, hey, this is your guy. You're good with this backup, especially with a quarterback that has that injury history. You can't just go, oh, shoot, we just saw that he was going to play all 17 games.
Right.
What is more likely, Tua to miss time or Tua not to miss time? Tua to miss time is very more likely. So going into your team building rant, I want to continue the rant and say, like, you got to know this. Like, you can't just say like, wow, dang it. Well, and then
if you know that, you're building the whole design of this team is based on having him as the quarterback, right?
Yeah,
Oh, we're
yeah.
not going to invest in the offensive line because he gets. I mean, I know people didn't like. Mike and I were talking about this. Him kind of was he throwing his offensive line in the bus when he was asked about the offensive line? He was like, "Well, I get the ball out so quickly, brother," or something like that. But that it's just true,
It
right?
is.
That it is true. He
That's
was
the
telling the
system.
truth,
Yeah.
and you made that decision as a franchise saying, okay, we want to hit the ceiling. We're going to take the fast running back. We're going to just double down on wide receiver. We're going to give Odell this, whatever. And it's like, wait, what? But you got to prepare. Part of building a team is preparing for contingencies and being
Yes.
realistic about the players you have. And it feels like they have been super exposed in that way.
Yep. It's the ability to pivot. And the best teams have, like, insulate themselves. I think that is a really good way to put it, is that, oh, okay, this guy's hurt, this tight end's hurt. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. We can get into this. Shoot, the Rams.
The
Oh, our receivers are
Rams.
hurt. Oh, hey, we're going to go to 2 tight end looks and look at that. And we're
Yeah.
scoring points. Like, that's a good example of it. And they just are built for everything to be high and mighty. And actually, a couple of years ago, when the end of the year, when the defenses were kind of adjusting to them, I was like, oh, okay, they're finding some better answers. But personnel wise, they never showed that they found the answers. They're like, no, more of the same, crank it up to 12.
They built the whole thing thinking, okay, this might take us to the Super Bowl and the ceiling. It's like it was like a super high. Let's do whatever we can to hit the ceiling with zero regard for the floor. And now the
Right.
floor is dropping out. And
Yep. That's what it feels like.
And I'm sorry, Dolphins fans, if you're listening. I mean, it sucks. Nobody, you quarterback getting hurt, and you can't predict that. And it's not. I'm not blaming
Oh,
him, and it's hard on McDaniel. It's hard on everybody. This is to me, this, if you want to call it a rant that we've just had, it's more about the team construction and the GM,
yes.
frankly. I'm on the Titans. Okay.
That's funny. I think I am also on the Titans. Yeah.
Okay. Seahawks Lions, good game. Let's
There
wrap
we go. Let's end with
There's
this
stuff
one.
to talk about here. It's in Detroit. You're on
You
Seattle.
gave me the Seahawks.
I gave you
Wow.
the
I know.
Seahawks. Yeah. So not
Keep
gonna
the
be the
good
homer
times
here.
going.
You go first. No, I'm on this one. I'm up first. I'll go to it. Okay. As much as it pains me to say, can the Lions? This is such a corny football thing, but it's
I
just
love it.
the whole thing. Can you dominate in the trenches in this one? Because the Seahawks.
Yep.
Entire interior of their offensive line is incredibly vulnerable, as we've seen. Well, I mean, not just the interior, the right tackle as well. Sorry. So the whole offensive line is a problem. It's been a problem. Geno Smith has papered over a lot of it. There's no run game there. It's really, really challenging. I think if he has time, they can absolutely punish them through
Are
the
you
air.
using this event right now? This is great. You're like, I'm taking the other
being
side
honest.
so I can complain about my team
I mean,
right now.
Aiden Hutchinson might have like 20 sacks in this one. I don't know. And then on the flip side, though, but I did trenches because on the other side as well, Seattle's actually been really, really good against the run, and they're in DVOA. Defensive line has been great. But at the interior, Byron Murphy and Leo Williams are both hurt. I think Leo Williams might play in this one. Keep an eye on that one. But I think that, I know we like Jonathan Higgins, but there is an opportunity here for Detroit to just run the ball on this defense as good as much as they've been better against the run. So I just feel like, can the Lions bully the Seahawks on both sides is really going to determine this.
Yeah, you don't really have to twist the Lions' arm or Ben Johnson's arm or like what they should do. Like, this is exactly how they want to do it. Frank Ragnow has like
that's why I forgot to mention him. Yeah, so that's
huge. Like determines everything. Yes. Yeah, I had a stat.
The Lions Center.
Yeah, the Lions Center, also from a high school near me in Minnesota. But they had all us Minnesotans know each other, but the one of us, when I watched that team last year and they missed them for like 2.5 games, and I had some stats, and with and without stats are always just,
a little messy,
salt.
Yeah.
But over time, and with
offensive line is the best position though to do with and without if there's meaningful splits.
Or a good Roquan Smith on and off stat is another good one. Offensive line is a great one, especially center. And because they, especially one like Frank Ragnow, who has a lot of influence on their offense and calling things out and determining blitzes. Him and Goff are great battery mates. This offense, a lot of these guys have played together for a while. Even the new guy, Kevin Zeitler, is a vet who's a smart player. Go Badgers. But when I watch that, I am really worried if he's not playing, because it's like they become one of the best offenses to one of the bottom offenses when he's not on the field because of how they sort out blitzes and everything. remember last year, Mike McDonald with the Ravens against this Lions
Yeah.
offense was a one we were all excited about, and he depanced him. And that is, I'm curious if he wants to try that again. I'm curious if he just continues that formula, but it's the run game.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been fun. It hasn't been that crazy. Like
it
they've
hasn't.
been, yeah, he hasn't really doubled down on the sim stuff, but I
Nope.
think it's early. Certain they they have faced teams where they have not had to do that, right?
Yeah.
Miami,
Yeah.
New England, Denver,
Yep.
rookie quarterback to bad offensive lines. So I think he might do so more out of necessity in this one. Uchenna Nwosu might play, which is a huge, like the Seahawks pass rush has been good despite the fact they haven't had their best pass rusher. Wow, my
That's
voice has been up
interesting.
like 5 octaves. So yeah, anyways. All right, what do you got for Seattle?
Oh, for Seattle, though, I know I just broke down all that. But how I think the Seahawks win this game is they got to chuck the rock. They're going to get a lot of man opportunities.
Yes,
I think
sir.
they have to win the man opportunities. The
Yeah.
being DK Metcalf or Jackson Smith and Jigba, like those two have to step up, or a tight end. But I think it's tough sledding if they want to run the ball like that. This Lions defense is very real, and their base defense. You can't get big on them, and I don't think the Seahawks want to. So I think it's spread to run, some hijink stuff, a lot of crossing routes. Ryan Grubb loves mesh. Mesh is great against man. Loves mesh. Gino's pretty good at it. So I see a lot of that. I see a lot of like man beaters, and I think they have answers because they have a couple of receivers there.
I would also really go after those Lions linebackers, and which is, I think Grubb. One thing I've really liked about him is he knows they have a bad offensive line.
Yeah, he's no dummy. That's the highest compliment I can give you.
No, he calls the game with that awareness, which I really appreciate, right? I mean, Gino's facing the second most quick pressures in the NFL right now. The guard situation in Seattle is not fun to watch. And so I think that's really held back their offense from being, a top 10 unit right now. They're about average, I think. But hopefully that line gets a little bit better, and we'll see what happens with some of the personnel. But to your point, I do think they can attack them through the air, and that's their really only shot in this. And by the way, the last time these teams played, that's what happened. It turned into an absolute shootout in Detroit. Yep. That is the best situation for Seattle, is if this thing turns into a shootout.
Yeah, it is. Track meet. The Seahawks had a great answer that last year, and it's something we already talked about, which was they would put their tight ends on the field and they just chucked it everywhere. And that's kind of what you have to do again.
Yeah.
But I know it's a different coordinator, but he has shown that Grubb is just really good because he doesn't overthink anything. Like, I know there's motions and some cool formation stuff, but it's all the classic concepts, and I like that because he's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's like, no, this is good. Gino, you're really good at it. Let's run that. Okay, we can't run up the middle, so we're going to try stuff on the outside with some other guys out there. That's just good play calling. Like, it's not overthinking it. Ben Johnson's the same way.
So I'm on Detroit, but if Ragnow misses this game,
nailed it. That's where I'm at. Ragnow
I actually think this Seahawks defensive line can really go to work, and
they have enough funkiness. And I know the play caller can do it. So that's why
we've seen him. Yeah.
We've seen him do it. It's not theory. So yeah.
I really like this, man. The Seahawks safety group too is really, really playing around.
Loves playing well. I know.
Jenkins and the corners are so physical, and
everyone's playing really fast, and that's really good.
But actually, it's been Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Skylar Thompson / Tim Boyle. So this is a real test for this group.
Yes, it's a little bit of a different animal. No, I think this game. It really is. I think this game will feel more like that Patriots game did. That's how they have to kind of stay in it.
All right.
I am gonna go with the Seahawks though.
Yeah. All right. I'll go with Detroit because
sorry, Lions fans.
I
was an OG Campbell guy. I have that somewhere in my Twitter files.
Campbell?
Dan.
Oh.
I like Jack Campbell against the run. I will say that. Not against the pass, but I like him against the run.
Ryan Grubb, I need you to break out that Kyle Shanahan microscope in this one, young man. Old middle-aged man. Okay, well, that is it. This was a ton of fun. yeah, I'm really excited for this week of game. This got me pumped. You guys should check out Nate's podcast. It's really good. Football
Oh,
301. How many times a week does it come out again?
twice a week, Tuesdays
Twice
and
a week.
Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So you should definitely check that out wherever you get your pods. I will be back on Tuesday with Dominic Foxworth to recap so either I'll be in a horrible mood or a good mood, or we'll see. I don't know. I try not to. Yes, I mean, I
Might
mostly
want to
fail.
carry over.
Mostly fail. Thank you, as always, to everyone at Omaha Productions for working on the show. Kirsten Svecki, Anthony Jimenez, Owen Saylor, Jack Foster, Kevin Tice, Tucker Tashton. You can check it out on YouTube at youtube.com/@Mina Kimes. Subscribe there if you don't already. Thanks.